Hey, everybody, welcome back to Cancers, the podcast about the modern cancer journey. There are so many different types of cancers out there today, so many different experiences people are going through, and we want to investigate ways that we can address what's happening right now, especially with environmental cancers. Um, so, we have a very, very exciting lineup of topics over the next week or two. Special visitor behind us as well. I'm your host, Eric Crown. I've been battling environmental cancer. Well, I was diagnosed in 2005. Since then, I've had over a dozen surgeries. I've been on chemo. I have been through radiation. I have uh, had a couple other specialists, a couple other types of cures they want me to try. But what I want to do now is actually move myself to Eastern holistic based ideas. So we're also going to be investigating different ways that you can battle cancer aside from the basic thing. And one of the reasons that it's important to talk about it is, and I didn't know this before I started my cancer journey, but doctors are not allowed to be nutritionists. It makes sense when you think about it now, like on a wider scale. But when you're there and you're in the doctor's office and they tell you have cancer, and suddenly the floor drops out from underneath of you, you can't hear a word they're saying. Everything sounds garbled, and your brain is way off somewhere else. When that all starts to happen, um, you want to know what you can do. What can I do? How can I fight this? What can I do every day? And they had no answers for that. The only thing they're allowed to prescribe by law in America is a chemo treatment, or a chemo or radiation, I should say, or surgery. They also have what's it called, blood transfusions. So that is one of the things the doctors recently talked to me about wanting me to undergo, would be blood uh, transfusions every 2 week, 3 weeks for multiple years. So there's not a lot of things they can do. One thing they never talk about is what's happening. Now, recently we saw in a newspaper article that they were saying a lot of people are getting cancer because of lifestyle choices. Now, lifestyle choices is a very tricky thing, because lifestyle choices um, sometimes are things people choose, like smoking. Obviously, you smoke cigarettes, your chances of lung cancer increase rapidly. But you would never think that living somewhere is a lifestyle choice. I mean, where you live is somewhat a lifestyle choice because you want to be in a community that matches you. But um, it is actually something that can give you cancer. Now, I never really had an issue with cancer. I was diagnosed in my early 30s. I had been started surgery and thought, oh, maybe I was out in the sun too much. Excuse me. But my cancer is unique because it starts inside and it grows outward. Normally, people will get a mole, a cancer of some sort, of skin cancer, and then it'll grow tentacles and start to go throughout. Mine actually is wrapped around my tailbone. For some reason, they cannot get it out. So, when I was diagnosed 2005, 2013, that I decided to go vegan. Actually, by watching a great documentary called Forks Over Knives. That was my particular start. Then I started talking to a guy who is a surfboard shaper. His name is Maurice Cole, and he had survived cancer. And I was going to try to buy a board from him because I've been surfing now for a long time, and surfing's always been a really important part of my life. Um, I didn't realize till later that potentially surfing was what gave me my cancer. Between the neoprene that I'm wearing on my wetsuit, which has all kinds of chemicals in it, to all of the oil and nasty chemicals and DDT, even, that is right off the coast of California that nobody talks about. You watch, like I love watching the old surf movies, Bruce Brown movies, 1950s movies, Endless Summer, all that is great, but it's not the reality of what it's like to live there. When you're done surfing there, sometimes you come off and there's like tar balls on your surfboard, and it takes weeks to get them off. weeks because it just sticks to your surfboard. It is a really toxic environment. So when we come back to them saying recently that most cancers come from your choices, your lifestyle choices, we have to think to ourselves, well, what does that mean? Because is me choosing to go surfing considered a lifestyle choice that gave me cancer? So yeah, there's a lot of questions. Now, one thing that's missing out of every equation is never the responsibility of the companies that pollute our environment. Now, I started talking to Maurice Cole. He had just survived cancer, and he told me, "You've got to read a book that I just read about diet." He said, "If you can change your diet," he said, "I defeated my cancer through diet." And it became a big inspiration for me. So between Maurice and watching this documentary, I thought, all right, this is the time to do it. Mind you, I hated vegetables at that point, and the idea of how am I going to become a vegan was pretty laughable to anybody that knew me, including myself. Didn't know how, but I knew I had to do it because I would get a surgery and the tumor would come back, and I'd get a surgery and the tumor would come back. And this just kept going on and on and on. And I thought there's something in my food that must be causing this. What else can be causing this? I had a lot of surgeries all around my spine, my, my groin area, the back of my legs. I had all these tumors that kept growing rapidly. If you think of like an octopus with legs, that's kind of what's happening. These tentacles grow out. They would take the tentacles back. So I decided I'm going to quit eating meat. And then I decided, okay, now I have to quit eating cheese. But it started with meat. And as soon as I went vegetarian, which was only about 2, 3 weeks, um, thank you. Thanks for putting that up. Yes. Check out Maurice Cole. Great inspiration, great board maker, and somebody who's really, really integral and important in my cancer journey. Somebody that changed my way of thinking because I thought, diet, what can diet do? Then I saw Forks Over Knives. And now, I mean, now you've got to remember this was 2013. The internet was playing a role in things, but research was still not where it is today. Now you can Google foods that fight cancer. And I'm actually going to show you a couple of them. We're going to go over some of that here shortly because I want to give you kind of a starter idea on some of the do's and don'ts of eating while you have cancer. Or if you know somebody that has cancer, or even if you know somebody that doesn't have cancer yet, change your diet because it's going to make a big difference. As soon as I changed my diet, my tumor stopped growing so fast. Changed my life forever. Very, very important. So to me, I believe in it wholeheartedly because it changed how my tumors reacted, how my tumors grew. If you can change your diet, you can really fight holistically. I think it was Hippocrates said, "Let thy food be thy medicine." And there's nothing more true. You are what you eat. Another version of it. We all hear that growing up. Little did I know. So, okay, I grew up. My mom always tried to feed me healthy, but being a kid, I always loved sugar and Little Debbie and all that stuff. Lots of meat. My dad was really into meat and potatoes, so that we kind of grew up with this philosophy about meat, which changed rapidly. Now, I eventually got cancer. Still to this day, nobody knows what it's from. We don't know if it's from the chemicals in the meat that are there that are a multitude, that a lot of people have cancers. But one thing we do know is we're seeing a really high rise in child cancers. So this means that either the environment or the food is tampered with in a way that is not healthy for the human body, and that is what we have to start tackling. Because now, if it's coming to people younger and younger, when I was a kid, it was people in their 50s. Now it was people my age in my 30s. Now I see kids that are like 8, 10 at the oncologist office. And that's something that should never be. And it's something we should not allow. And this, if we're going to draw a line somewhere, this is the line we draw. We say, no, this is no longer acceptable because a company wants to make money. They're not allowed to poison our environment anymore. So anyway, aside from all that, let's go back a little bit to diet because I want to talk about something a little bit more positive today. It's a danger with so much poison, and that's why I talk about diet being preventative measure. So I ended up going fully vegan, and it did change my life forever. I felt like my clock got turned back 10 years. It felt amazing. And I want to share a video with you from Dr. Clapper, who was a guest on a previous show that I've done. Here we go. Let's see. Actually, let's see if we do this. Here we go. Okay. And I want to talk here. He's going to talk a little bit about how food affects the body. This is our upcoming guest, Dr. Clapper, and this is his TED Talk. So we're going to watch this real quick, get Dr. Clapper on, and come on back and talk to everybody. Here we go.
We now know that food brings in a lot more than fats, carbohydrates, and protein. Our food is chemically alive. Within minutes of eating anything, molecules of that food are washing through every cell in your body where your DNA lies unfolded. And the food molecules wash through your cells and they play your DNA like a piano. And they turn genes on, they turn genes off. They induce enzymes, they shut enzymes down. Every meal changes us on a genetic molecular level. In this digital age, we can't be shocked to realize that food brings in not only nutrients, it brings in information. The science is called nutrigenomics. It's how your food turns your genes on and off. And we can't pretend this is not happening. This is where inflammation starts. This is where cancer starts. This is where immunity resides. This is where healing begins if we turn on the right genes with our food. People blame their genetics. Oh, my dad had a heart attack at age 56. I was going to get one too. Yeah, if you run the same food through your tissues, you'll create the same diseases. But in one sentence, to free you from the idea that you're genetically predetermined to get these diseases, your genes may load the gun, but your diet and your lifestyle pull the trigger. Whether that disease actually manifests in your body depends upon the molecules you're flowing through your tissues day after day.
All right. Well, okay. So that was Dr. Clever. You can go to our YouTube channel and watch the full episode with him where he discusses how veganism affects the body. So it's a very fascinating thing. I'd love to know what you think. If you know anybody that's going through cancer, or if you're going through cancer yourself, let me know what kind of dietary changes they make or not make. Okay, so one big thing for me, I was very shocked. So, by the way, real fast before we move on, this is Maurice Cole. I just wanted to pay homage again to the man that sent me on my journey to really start thinking about food and how that was going to change being a surfer. And here, I'm wearing a wetsuit, and again, neoprene has a lot of health issues, and not to mention the water, which I thought would be safe because I always thought of it in old terms, but it's not true. So one of the biggest problems is I used to eat a lot of meat. Now, one thing that people are not going to like to hear is that when you char meat, you're adding carcinogen to your diet. Anything on a grill, unfortunately, char is carcinogen, and meat has a lot of other carcinogens going along with it as well. Now, I don't eat meat anymore, but I wanted to share this with you. Causes cancer. So this is according to, I believe this is the World Health Organization. Put this out. Yeah, World Health Organization. But number one, you can see these are the types of processed meats that do cause cancer. This is just known. It wasn't told to my generation at all. And there could be an argument that they didn't really know and it was kept secret. There's a reason it was kept secret. We now know and we have to change our patterns as a result. Now, unfortunately, this has probably causes cancer, but I feel like there's a lot of research if you go online that you'll see it absolutely causes cancer, especially if you're charring it up. And I was eating steaks all the time off a grill, feeding cancer, right? My food was not my medicine, it was my enemy. So here we have again beef, pork, lamb, all meats basically have certain things inside of them, not to mention chemicals that can cause cancer and do cause cancer. And I say that emphatically because I want to show you a few more things. Really quickly, this is interesting. This is from Cancer Alley. This is where the beef from Louisiana comes from. Now, in the background is Denka facility. They put out some of the highest amounts of cancer-causing uh, pollutants through their air emissions. Now, this is their land, and what they do is the land they're not doing anything with. They just rent it out to farmers. So this is what I mean. Like I personally don't eat meat, but to my friends that do eat meat, think about this for a second. If these cows are living on these pastures right next to a place where everyone around them is getting cancer, what do you think is happening inside these cows? You know they're allowed to sell meat. They're allowed to carve out a lot of tumors. So please be careful because this is what it's come down to. And I can't believe we're at this stage. Let's see, we have a couple more infographics. It's pretty interesting. And again, meat and cancer, how strong is the evidence? Well, it's absolutely strong. If you do eat things like salami, bacon, sausage, you're going to really open yourself up for a lot of heavy cancers. And, that was in the UK where people eat a lot of meat. We find veganism around some places, but it still hasn't picked up enough yet. And I don't know, but I do know that most people that get cancer try the vegan path because it's all medicine. Here's another interesting one I thought. So when we talk about risk, there's always tobacco versus meat, right? So cancer is caused by tobacco, 15% of all cancers. That is a lot. Somehow it's still allowed. Cancer is caused by processed meat, 1.5. That's insane, insanely high. And why is it that we're giving people these terrible options, and then when they take the options, that's considered to freedom? I have freedom to eat meat and freedom to smoke a cigarette. I have freedom to get cancer. But, when then it suddenly comes to, I want to have good food that's available, that freedom disappears in a lot of places. We find a heavy correlation of environmental cancers with areas that are facing environmental justice issues, whether it's the gas that's coming out, air pollution, water pollution, the fact they live in a food desert where there's no good food available except for what they where we were in Cancer Alley, really most of the food came from gas stations. And there's like restaurants in the gas stations because there's no restaurants around. It's just industry. As a matter of fact, a lot of these places don't have grocery stores in their town at all. We talk about that a little bit more in the movie. It's amazing how they are getting robbed all the time to pay for these things. So let's just say you either want to do preventative maintenance on your body or you have a friend that's going through cancer. There is a lot of cool things that we can show you. I want to show you this first. This is a thing you can look up. It's fantastic. It actually has all plants that can't hurt to try, even if you just take a little bit each day. And if not, maybe you just do, one a week and you just spread it out over the year. No matter what, the more you eat food that is your medicine, the better you're going to feel when you have that medicine. So I want to show you some more interesting ones. So here is a cancer fighting foods to reduce cancer risk. So this is so apples is a great one. Who doesn't love apples? So apple a day keeps the doctor away. I just actually had an apple before we did the show. Yeah, we always have apples. We have berries. We have sometimes I have a hard time saying this. Cruciferous vegetables. Now those, of course, everybody knows are super good. Carrots cannot be underrated. So these are all things that we know can fight cancer. So this is what I really wanted to bring up is that um, the knowledge is here. The knowledge is here. We have the information. We don't need more, checks. We don't need more studies. We don't need anything like that. What we need are more education. And again, the doctors are not allowed to actually be nutritionists. They're not going to tell you what's happening. Don't have that expectation of your oncologist. It's not what they do. It's not at all what they do. They have their own specialty. You're the one that has to put your own puzzle piece together. What is your diet? What is your background? What is your, as Dr. Clapper said, you know, your food will play the piano and make a song out of your DNA. So this one I wanted to share with you. This is plants against cancer. So, another thing to think about, um, you already know that plants are important. Here's what I really want to share with you is about 50 to 60% um, of cancer drugs in the Western world come from plants that they have taken the DNA and they put the plants. They just made pill versions of it. Around 70 to 80% of all medicine in the Western world comes from plants. So plants, we already know have a power because the companies that are profiting off making the pharmaceuticals, they borrowed the information from the plants. And anyway, we're going to have another episode on that. We're going to go a little bit more into depth. I'll share with you some of the very important medicines that come from plants. But for now, just know what is important is that what you put in your body will process. Cancer has changed the way that I eat forever. So when we're traveling now, it can be very challenging. I'm not, of course, for me, it's also much of a moral choice because it's a challenge, right? Like we always ask this question. I'd love to see a debate on this. Can you be somebody that fights for animal rights if you also eat animals? I think it's a very lively discussion. I'd love to see what everybody thinks. Do you need to be vegan? Be somebody who actually saves animals. So, wonder what you guys think. But for us, we travel. Of course, we've both been vegan since as long as we can remember. May 2013. It's a very definitive time. Sierra's been vegan a long time. So when we travel, we have to make sure we have things to take with us. Because it's not always those options on the road. You can't always eat side of fries in the South. So anyway, veganism, check it out. I highly recommend you go Google cancer fighting foods, and you will find that everything there, you can just find a beautiful vegan diet that can help. Now, it's something that goes back and forth because when you're on a lot of medicine, you're not just on chemo or just on radiation. Like when I was on radiation for the tailbone, you're also on another 5 or 6 medicines. Each of those have different side effects. So sometimes you find that you have to eat or not eat because everything tastes like cardboard. There is no taste. It's disgusting. So you have to eat according to what's going to help your body absorb your medicine. So, everything that we have to do as cancer patients changes the way we live every day. For me, food was the big thing, and changing it over, being vegan, made a huge impact. And I highly recommend, even if you don't want to go vegan, just go look at what does fight cancer and eat up because there is environmental pollution everywhere. And with statistics like 1 in 2 or 1 in 3, like we always talk about, you are definitely want to fight before it happens. I'm going to keep bringing this up every show. 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women will be diagnosed with cancer. And there's no comparisons of cancer. Like if you have cancer, you have cancer. And we don't want to see anybody else join our club. So please contemplate healthy eating, contemplate food being your medicine, contemplate eating healthy. As Hulk Hogan said, eat your vegetables, your vitamins. It's a good point, though. We need to do that. Too often we ignore our own health within a modern, busy society. So remember that you're important and don't make something like cancer make you remember that. I made that mistake. I'm glad I learned my lesson. I just wish it wouldn't have been so severe, and I wish it still wouldn't be at home. So, Check it out. Like I said, Google it. There's tons of interesting articles. You can find a diet that will fit your needs, that will be a cancer fighting diet. Your body is your temple, so make sure to treat it that way. All right. Thank you for joining Cancers, diet, food, veganism, DNA, cancer. There's a lot to talk about. I'd love to hear your thoughts more on it. Are you vegan? Are you not vegan? Do you think being vegan can cure cancer? Or do you think it's part of a cure? Or do you think it doesn't matter? Do you think meat can cure cancer? I'd love to know everybody's thoughts. All right, everybody. We're having a great day. Looking forward to our next conversation. See you tomorrow.